Hey all, and welcome back. We've got a big story to unpack, and it's definitely one of those headlines that makes you stop and think. Former President Donald Trump has filed a massive lawsuit, $15 billion, against the New York Times and Penguin Random House. Yeah, you heard that right, $15 billion. So let's break down what's going on, why he's suing, what the media is saying in response, and what it could all mean. And along the way, I'd love to hear your thoughts too. So here's the deal. Trump's lawsuit claims that the New York Times, some of its reporters, and the book publisher Penguin Random House have been running what he calls a campaign of defamation against him. In plain terms, he's saying they publish stories and books filled with lies meant to destroy his reputation, especially as he gears up for the 2024 election. Some of the examples he points to include articles about his former chief of staff John Kelly warning he would act like a dictator, stories about how The Apprentice was produced, and reporting from journalists like Peter Baker, Russ Buettner, Suzanne Craig, and Michael Schmidt. Plus, Penguin Random House published a book about Trump's business dealings that paints him in a pretty negative light. Trump and his legal team say all of this crosses the line from journalism into outright defamation. Now, suing for defamation isn't simple, especially if you're someone as famous as Donald Trump. Because he's a public figure, the law requires him to prove something called actual malice. That means he has to show that the journalists either knew what they were publishing was false or that they acted with reckless disregard for the truth. That's a really high bar. So here's a question for you. Do you think it should be harder for powerful people to sue the press, or should they have the same rights as anyone else when it comes to protecting their reputation? Trump is asking for $15 billion in damages. His lawyers argue that the reporting has hurt his global reputation as a successful businessman and damaged his chances of winning re-election. They're framing this lawsuit as bigger than just one person. They're calling it an effort to push back against what they see as unchecked falsehoods in mainstream media. Do you think this lawsuit is mainly about protecting Trump's image, or do you see it as part of a larger battle between politicians and the press? On the other side, the New York Times isn't backing down. Their spokesperson said the lawsuit has no merit at all. They argue it's really just an attempt to intimidate journalists and stifle free reporting. They also say they'll keep doing their job without fear or favor. Penguin Random House is defending its authors too, saying the reporting is fair and falls under free speech protections. This brings up a really interesting question. How do we draw the line between reporting that's tough but fair and reporting that crosses into defamation? There are also some big obstacles for Trump's team to overcome. Aside from proving actual malice, they'll have to show that the statements in question weren't just opinions, but provably false claims that directly caused harm. And then there's the issue of the First Amendment. U.S. courts traditionally give the press a lot of freedom when covering public figures, especially politicians. Some of you might remember that in past cases, even very harsh or unflattering reporting was protected as long as it wasn't knowingly false. So, should journalists have that level of protection, even if they sometimes get things wrong? Or should there be stronger penalties when mistakes happen? This lawsuit isn't happening in a vacuum either. Trump has recently filed other big lawsuits against media outlets, including a $10 billion suit against the Wall Street Journal. So whether or not these cases succeed, they send a message. Media organizations could face more pressure and more risk when they cover him. If you were a journalist, would that make you think twice about what you write, or would you keep reporting exactly the same way? The broader impact here is fascinating. If Trump were to win even part of this case, it could set a precedent that makes media companies more cautious about reporting on powerful figures. Some people might see that as a good thing, ensuring accuracy. Others might see it as a chilling effect on press freedom. What side you lean toward? So, to wrap this up, Trump is suing the New York Times and Penguin Random House for a jaw-dropping $15 billion, claiming they defamed him and hurt his chances in the 2024 election. The Times and the publisher say the case has no merit and are standing by their work. The courts will have to decide where free speech ends and defamation begins, and that decision could have ripple effects far beyond this one case. Now, I really want to hear from you. Do you think Trump's lawsuit has a chance of succeeding, or is it more of a political strategy than a legal one? And bigger picture, How should society balance freedom of the press with protecting reputations? If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, share it with a friend who follows politics, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future updates. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.